today's yoga practice, we're going to use a couple of blocks, a belt, and a blanket, or two, or perhaps a beach towel or other large towel. Let's start in our comfortable seated position. As with any exercise program, be sure you have the blessing of your care providers for any movement work. And you have permission to ignore me and anything I suggest you do if you think, oh, that's not going to work for me and my body, or that doesn't feel good. So it's up to you to take care of yourself and practice yoga second. Sitting tall so our spines grow tall. We lift our crowns up to the ceiling. Let's take a breath and settle into our place. We'll notice the position of the body. Notice the front of the torso is long, just like the back of the torso. We'll notice the deep bend of our knees. We'll notice our breath coming and going, our in-breath and our out-breath. We'll notice our seat, the temperature underneath us. Maybe it's warm, maybe it's cool. We'll notice the placement of our hands. We'll settle in and prepare for our practice. One more deep breath in. Let the breath out. We'll gently raise our hands up in front, interlace fingers, turn our palms forward, extend the hands away from the heart. Broaden the thumbs away from the pinkies. Have another breath. Check in with your shoulders, and on your next in-breath, bend those elbows and lift the elbows up into the air, only as high as your shoulders appreciate. Maybe you want to add more of a bend. Maybe you need one arm up higher than the other. It's up to you and your shoulders. We'll lengthen from our waist through our elbows. We'll have another breath in. As we exhale, separate those hands out to letter T shape. Roll the palms up to face the sky and have a few breaths in here. If you'd like some movement, you can inhale the thumbs behind you. Exhale as those hands return to place. So we'll breathe in and breathe out. One more time, breathing in and breathing out. We'll bring our right hand down, lift our left hand high in the air for the eager pupil. So you're in the back of class and you know the answer. Stretch the hip down, the elbow up. If your shoulder doesn't like to extend this much, bend that elbow and just reach the shoulder up to lengthen the ribs and the side waist here on the left side. Another breath. We'll exhale that hand down. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So lifting up that right arm nice and tall. We'll root the right hip and thigh down. We'll feel that lengthening and spreading of the ribs on this right side. Again, if your shoulder's happier with the elbow bent, feel free to accommodate yourself. Another breath here. And we'll bring that hand down. Let's extend both of our legs out in front of us. We'll turn to the side, bringing our calves down to the mat. We'll root our heels, and if you're having a hard time finding the extension through the low back, if your low back tends to slouch, then maybe lift the knees, see if there's more play in the hips so you're able to sit up taller. However our seat is, we can place our hands at our sides, perhaps. The arms can be scaffolding for the spine to stay tall. We'll have another breath. Then we'll bend the left leg Place that foot on the ground. Allow that knee to open out to the side. If you'd like a landing pad for it, if it's not quite reaching the ground, maybe a folded blanket or towel would be a good idea. We'll sit tall. We'll raise up our arms to T-shaped arms, palms facing down. Take a breath in. Exhale, turn to your left, bring the right hand to the opposite leg. The other arm behind us, scaffolding for the spine. We'll sit tall, lengthening through the back of the neck. And turn the gaze a bit to the left as well. We'll feel that twist through our waist, our back, and belly. We'll have another breath here. Exhaling, we'll return to center. We'll place a hand on either side of our extended right leg. And that arms, again, is scaffolding for the spine, keeping that heart center lifted away from the belly. Just slightly tilting forward. It doesn't take much before we feel it in the hamstring at the back of the right thigh, before we feel it through our hip or our low back. And then once our hips have tipped as far as they're going to tip, then we can allow the upper back to round a bit as we reach forward toward that extended right foot. Maybe we grasp the foot itself. Maybe we keep our hands on the mat. It's up to you. But we want a nice normalized curve in our spine. Not a strong curve at one part of the spine, but not elsewhere. So if you find that you're really hunching the upper back, walk the hands back a bit. Normalize that curve of the upper back. And then tip forward from the hips first. We'll take some soft belly breaths here. And then we'll take our left hand and reach it to the opposite side of that right leg, whether it's by the shin or reaching for the opposite pinky side of the foot. And then we'll extend our right arm back, bringing the fingertips to the mat. We'll turn our gaze a little bit to the right, orienting our nose with our heart center. Soft belly breaths. One more breath here. And we'll return to center. We'll sit up nice and tall. One more trick before we move on. Let's bring our left hand behind us, placing it on the ground. We're going to root our left knee down. If you have a pad underneath you like this, move it out of the way. We'll reach up with the hips. Keep that right foot rooted. Reach on up. A little bit of a knee-supported wild thing here. Lengthening from that right foot all the way through to the right hand. Another breath. And then we'll sit it back on down. Alrighty, left knee can come up. We'll extend it out. We'll have a moment to sit like this. And then we'll do that same thing on the other side. I'm just going to maneuver the microphone. Make sure it's capturing some good sound here. Maybe I'll put it just a little bit out of view. All right. Now we'll bend up the right knee. We'll allow it to open out to the side. You can choose whether you want to give it a landing pad or not. We'll sit tall. We'll reach up our arms T-shape. Exhale, turning to the right. Gaze to the right, long back of the neck. Have a few breaths. Feel the twist in the back and belly. One more breath here. And we'll exhale our way back to center. We can put a hand on either side of that extended left leg. We'll lift the heart center away from the belly. Activate that low back so the low back muscles are lifting the upper back away from the hips. We'll slowly tip forward from the pelvis. And once we settle into it, once our hamstring's accustomed to this idea, then we can consider rounding the spine forward a little bit. Again, checking to make sure that our curve is evenly spaced throughout the back, not just hunched in one spot. We'll have a breath or three. Soft belly. All right, now we'll take our right hand, reach it to the opposite side of that extended left leg, whether it's on the mat or reaching for the outer foot. We'll swing that left arm around, fingertips to the mat. And we'll turn the heart center and the nose to face about the same direction. Lengthen through the back of the neck and have some breaths. One more breath here. And then we'll return back to center. We'll sit up tall. We'll remove any landing pad out from underneath that right leg. Now it's the right arm that reaches out behind. We're going to reach into the right knee, the left heel, and lift that left arm. Nice long bodies. One more breath here. Then we'll sit on back down. I love that pose, that move. We'll lift that right knee, we'll extend it out. Once again, we can sit tall for a moment, see how much energy it takes just to sit. Usually we slouch off pretty soon, but we'll try to keep that heart center lifted away from the belly. Try to keep our back strong and long. Alrighty, now we'll flip over to our hands and knees. If your knees are not happy on the mat, you can always bring a blanket down underneath. We'll do some cat-cow breaths here. So keep the toenails pressed into the ground. That'll help activate the muscles at the back of the hip. We'll keep our fingertips reaching down into the ground to bring pressure off the wrists, hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips, and we'll breathe our way into a cat arch and into the cow belly sag. Widening the sit bones, lifting that chin. We'll do another pair of these, finding our shoulder blades moving away from the spine in cat arch. And then those shoulder blades hug in toward the spine in the cow tilt. We'll find our way to neutral tabletop. So our back isn't lifting. We just try to find the flattest tabletop we can. We'll bring our belly buttons into our spine and engage our mula bandha, so the lower belly moving in and up. Then we'll take our right foot extended out behind us, tucking those toes on the mat, pushing through the heel. And when we're ready with our engaged mula bandha, we'll lift that heel no higher than the hip. If it lifts higher than the hip, it adds that bend to the low back that we don't want. So we'll keep it at hip level or lower. Keep that belly button helping move into the spine to help support the low back. And then perhaps lift the opposite limb, the left thumb up to the sky. And we'll extend out long from the belly button to the right heel, from the belly button to the left thumb. We'll keep our gaze down so the back of the neck is long. And if you'd like to add a little challenge to this, we can swing these lifted limbs out 90 degrees to the awkward airplane. And then we'll bring them back in line. It's a prop plane, not a jet. And then we'll bring those limbs down underneath us and fishtail a bit, swinging our hips from side to side. And then we'll try that same thing on the other side. So coming to center, it's the left toes that tuck under. We'll engage our mula bandha. So the pelvic floor moving into the body cavity, the lower belly moving in and up toward the heart. Then we'll lift that heel no higher than the hip. Keep those kneecap pointed down. Maybe lift the opposite arm. Thumb up to the sky. Reaching from the belly button out to those extended limbs. And if you'd like the added challenge of the awkward airplane, we swing those limbs out to the side. I've got a wall in my way. And then return them to line. And then we'll bring our limbs down underneath us. One more time, we'll do that awkward, or a fishtail swim. Not so awkward. We can peek around one shoulder down toward the feet. Then we can peek around the other shoulder down toward the feet. Alrighty. Let's bring our right foot forward. Step it in between the hands. If you'd like to have blocks handy, now would be the time to get them. So let me pull over my blocks. So I'll put my hands up on the blocks, give me a little more room so I can bring that right foot in, place it on the mat. And I'll line my knee up right over that ankle. Not past yet. Somewhere right over the ankle. I'll find my balance. Consider maybe lifting those blocks up so I can really lengthen the spine, broaden the front of the shoulders, lengthen the back of the neck as I lift the gaze. I'll find my balance here, firming my hips in towards center line, reach my hands up for a low crescent. Palms facing each other. And as our hands move behind the plane of the head, we get a nice long extension through the front body. Another breath here. And then we'll swing those hands down to the blocks. And we'll lengthen the front leg, bowing down over it. If you're here and you're thinking, I'm not really feeling it, maybe try bringing that lower belly down toward the thigh. You can lift the front toes or keep them pointed. I know you can't really see. It's up to you, whatever works for your body. And then we'll bring that right foot to the ground, swing the hips forward, and now we'll allow our knee to go just beyond the plane of the ankle. It's okay here since we're not fully weight bearing. It's a front hip opener for the left hip. We'll broaden and relax the shoulders. Have another few breaths here. And then we'll bring it on back. Let's bring that right knee underneath us. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So left foot comes out. First we line up knee over ankle. We find our balance, focus our gaze, and float our hands up. A few long belly breaths here. And we'll bring our hands down. We'll bow down over a long front leg. Greet our hamstring, the muscles at the back of that leg. And then we'll shift our hips forward. Get a little stretch here in the front of this right hip. Then we'll back it on up. We'll tuck both of our legs underneath us. We're going to be moving up to our feet. You can either do it through a full down dog here at the ground, or you can just come up to your feet, whatever you think is best for you. If you're doing full down dog, we return to hands, knees. I'd like to move my hands forward just a little bit of my shoulders, tuck my toes, and then lift the hips up into downward facing dog. We'll have to clear off the mat or step forward, bringing our feet underneath us, rising up to our feet. I'll shift the camera angle so we've got a nice tall view. There we go, that's a little bit better. So we're going to clear off our mat, do some standing work here for a while. I'm going to hope to make this video thing work. So let's keep some blocks nearby. I'm going to choose this as the top of my mat. set my blocks up on a nice tall stand. And I'll begin with the Warrior 1. We'll move through Warrior 2 and Warrior 3. So for Warrior 1, we'll stand facing the front of the mat. We're going to step back with the left foot, a medium-sized step, maybe even small. We're looking for ski feet as opposed to tightrope walking feet. So we want a little bit of space between our feet. We might have to walk that front foot over a little bit to the right. Now we'll lower that front thigh until the knee is just about in line with that ankle. And we'll root through the rear heel, keeping that leg strong. We'll again float our hands forward and up just like we did in our low lunge. Virabhadrasana 1. Maybe we can extend the hands a bit behind us, lifting the heart center, lengthening the belly. One more breath here. Now we'll bring our hands down. Keep the legs as they are. We're going to draw the hands in, keeping those elbows a bit close to the waist, pointing behind us. Then turn the palms and push away. Take a breath in as we pull the hands in. Then we push and exhale. We'll inhale, draw those hands in. Push as exhale 2 more times. And one last pair of these, breathing in, pulling in, breathing out, pushing out. Now we'll step our back foot forward. Try that same thing on the other side. So now it's the right foot taking a medium or small size step back. Maybe we'll walk our left foot over to the left a bit. We'll lower that front thigh until that knee's just about over the ankle. We'll root through the back heel. Float our hands forward and up. Find our Warrior 1 position here. Palms face each other. Maybe the hands move a bit behind, lengthening the flesh at the front of the torso. Warrior 1. We'll have another breath here. Bringing the hands down, we'll draw the air in as we breathe in, and then we'll push it out. We'll do 3 more of those, 3 more pairs. Breathing in, pulling in. Breathing out, pushing out. Again, elbows stay close to the waist and then point out behind us. Last pair of these. I'm watching a squirrel out the window chittering. All right, we'll bring our hands down, step that back foot forward. It's sitting right out my window on a pile of wood, chittering and yelling at anyone who will listen, I guess. That's kind of funny. Okay, so we're going to move through Warrior 2 to side angle and reverse that warrior. Not sure what kind of video issues I'm having, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going to keep the right foot forward, take the left foot a big step back this time, squaring the shoulders with the long side of the mat. We'll raise our arms up to T-shaped arms. Take a look at that back heel. Make sure the heel's a little closer to the back side of the mat than the toes are, and that will reduce torque on that back knee. The front foot is pointing straight at the front of the mat. We're going to lower that front thigh again till that knee is not past the ankle, maybe a bit behind. And we'll root through that back heel. Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. We turn our gaze over the back of the right hand, palms are facing down. We'll have a breath here. Nice long torsos. I'm going to fold forward, bring our front forearm to the front thigh. We'll swing that back arm down, extend it out till the biceps near the ear, And then roll the heart center off to the left. Maybe even lifting the gaze up toward your ceiling. We'll have some breaths here. If you're looking for more of a challenge, you can try floating that right arm or letting it dangle, or you could even reach for a block. We'll have another breath here. Parsvakonasana. And then we'll follow that upper hand up and over, returning to Virabhadrasana 1. Then we'll reverse the warrior, bringing the left hand to the left leg, reaching that right hand up, turn the palm, extend out. We can keep the left hand here on the left leg or sneak it around behind us, perhaps to the right thigh. We'll have a breath or two here. Those thighs are getting pretty warm. And we'll return to warrior 2. Then we'll lengthen our front leg. Turn our toes to face the same direction and shimmy, step, hop, or jump our feet together underneath us. And that's that on that side. We'll try it on the other side. So now it's the left foot forward, right foot takes a big step back. We'll square our shoulders with the long side of the mat. Raise our arms up to T-shaped arms. Check the integrity of that back knee by making sure the heel is closer to the back of the mat. Turn our gaze past the back of the left hand. Lower that left thigh. Virabhadrasana 2. We'll have a couple of breaths here. Feeling the power of this position. And then we'll fold forward. Swinging that front arm down, lifting it till the biceps near the ear, and then turning the torso, the nose. Again, if you're looking for more of a challenge, the left arm can dangle, it can reach for a block, or it can stay where it likes to be. One more breath here. And we'll follow this right arm up. Return to a warrior 2. Then we'll reverse the warrior. Choosing whether to keep this right hand on the right leg or sneak it around the left thigh. Feeling that warmth building in the muscles of our calf, our quads mostly. I feel it right there. What about you? We'll have another breath. And we'll return to warrior 2. We'll straighten out that front leg. Turn our toes to face the same direction. And step, shimmy, or jump our feet together underneath us. Alrighty. Second verse, same as the first. So, from here we're going to move through Parsvakonasana, a forward fold with our legs scissored just a little bit. So we're definitely going to want some blocks. Place them just about, if you bent over in a tabletop like this, we're going to place them somewhat underneath the shoulders. We'll have some space between those blocks so we can step our left foot forward, shall we? Right foot takes a small step back. So we're going to start with medium or medium small. Definitely want ski feet here. Hands to the hips. We can draw our elbows toward each other behind us. Root through our feet and really lift that heart center away from the belly. Even lifting the gaze. We'll have a breath. And then we'll fold our pelvis forward over the hips. Just find a little forward fold angle here. And we'll choose maybe, see where we can go, where we think that's a sustainable spot. We can release the hands to find the blocks. Here I have to move my blocks. Try to keep a nice long spine. If we have to reach for the blocks by dangling down the spine, then maybe it's better to keep the hands on the hips. We'll have some soft belly breaths here. And then now, Maybe we'll allow the forehead to droop down toward this front leg, the spine to round a bit, so long as we're not, again, keeping the angle of the spine all in one spot. We'd like it to normalize. We'll have some breaths. And then we'll root strongly through our feet. We'll lift up, hands on the hips, help lift with the shoulders first. Once again, elbows come together behind us. We lift that heart center and add a bit of a gaze upward. We'll return to center. We'll step our feet together underneath us. We'll try it again on the other side. Let's see what my computer is doing here. It seems to still be recording. Okay then. Right foot forward, left foot takes a small to small medium step back. My computer screen just went black for a while, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't speaking into the void. We'll walk that right foot over to the right. We definitely want some ski feet situation here. I've got my hips, my shoulders facing toward the front of the mat. Hands on the hips, we'll draw our elbows together behind us. We'll lift that heart center. And I hear our squirrel friend chittering again. Now we'll fold forward, pelvis folding over those thighs. We'll find a position that seems sustainable, stable. If it's too far to go to blocks, you can always use a wall, a countertop, the back of a chair, or a couch. A chair is probably the best mobile prop option. We could reach for the chair, or a counter, or a couch, or the side of a bed, whatever you have nearby. And then after our hamstrings introduced to this position, now we can consider allowing the spine to round forward a little more, the forehead to reach toward that front leg. Another breath or two. And then we'll slowly lift up. Hands on the hips help us lift from the shoulders. Once again, those elbows move toward each other, thumbs toward the spine. Really lift the heart center. And then we'll step our feet together underneath us. Woo. Alrighty, we can kind of wiggle or dance it out. So for our balance pose today, we'll stand in our Tadasana, and that's placing our feet with a few inches space between them, our most stable position for our hips, or where the feet bones connect to the leg bones, and then those leg bones connect to the hip bones. So having a few inches between our feet gives us the most stability in our hips. We'll stand tall, lifting our heart center away from the belly. We'll broaden and relax the shoulders. We can turn our palms forward for a moment. Take a breath in, and then as we exhale, relax the arms, relax the hands, let them hang where they'd like. Sometimes it's interesting to note if they hang equidistant from the center of the body, if we shift our hips from side to side, or if one hand's out a little further. It's just always interesting to observe. Let's inhale, circle our hands up overhead, bringing our palms together. And we'll exhale those hands down to the heart center. All right, from here we'll open our arms out to T-shape, palms facing down. And search your gaze for a spot to focus on. It's called a drishti. So we're focusing our gaze on a certain spot. We'll shift our hips over a bit to the left to bring our weight to our left foot. We're going to bend the right and reach down to grasp our right ankle, or maybe the yoga pants, whatever we have available. If that's too far to reach, this is what a belt comes in handy for. And if it's too hard to balance, we can have the back of a chair or a wall to place the left hand on. So I'll demonstrate it with the belt. If I were to use a belt, I would place the belt around my right foot. Let's see, what did I just do? Let's make a loop with the belt. We'll step our right foot through it. Hold both sides of the belt in the right hand. I can either place my left hand on a wall or the back of a chair. I'll shift my weight to my left foot. I'll bend the right foot and hitch that belt up, maybe over the shoulder, or maybe I'll just hang on to it with my arm there. This is going to be a quad stretch, so we'll draw that right knee a bit behind the left leg, moving that knee out behind us to get the stretch of all 4 of those quad muscles. We'll keep our balance. We'll have a few breaths here, whether you're using the belt or not. If you're not using the belt and you'd like to extend that left arm forward, or even if you are, yeah, it would work either way. And we can even tilt the body forward a bit. We'll have another breath. Then we'll release back to center and step it on down. We'll do that same thing on the other side. So belt or no belt, it's up to you. Wall or chair or no wall, it's up to you. I think I'll turn this time and have a little bit of a wall. So I'm going to shift my weight to the right foot. I'll bend the left, either grasp the belt, the ankle, or the pants. Maybe we move that knee a bit behind the other. If you feel balanced, you want to extend that right arm out in front, that's fine. We can even activate and lift the back leg. A few breaths here for our quad stretch. Ooh, bring it on in. Release that leg, release the belt. We can set that belt aside. We're going to use the belt in a moment, but before we bring ourselves down to the ground, I have one more standing movement to do. So placing our feet in our nice stable position, a few inches of space between them. We'll extend our palms out in front, palms facing each other, arms nice and long. We're going to keep the left arm where it's at, but bring the right palm over to it. We'll inhale, we'll open this right palm up, and we'll follow it with our gaze. And then as we exhale, we'll return the gaze to the left palm, return the hand to the left palm. So we'll inhale, open it out, follow it with our gaze. Exhale, and return. We'll do that 2 more times, maybe 3 more times. If this causes any dizziness, then you can isolate the movement, either not follow it with the gaze, but maybe turn the gaze just a little bit to the right so you get that opening of the right chest. We'll do it one last time. Or just even keeping the gaze forward, but seeing how far open we can bring that right arm. All right. Now we'll move the right arm straight out from the right shoulder. We'll scoop that left palm over to it. We'll do the same thing on this side. Inhaling, opening out. Exhaling, returning. One last time. Oof, nice warm arms. We'll let those arms down, kind of wiggle them out a little bit. We're going to bring ourselves down to our seat. So I'm going to switch the camera angles once again. So down here at the lower level, I was going to suggest we come onto our backs. We're going to do some leg movements, some scissoring with our legs, and then we'll find ourselves in twists and move toward our shavasana. It may help to have a belt handy, and depending on your body size and shape, you might want a blanket or a pillow handy to support your neck, your head. So we'll ease onto our backs. Feels good. Just feel the shoulder blades against the back and the mat underneath us. We can rest our arms at our side for a moment. Just feel the air come and go. Even if you're sighing the air out. All right, so let's begin with our right heel extending up toward the sky. There's no need to get the leg perfectly straight, but we will let the heel lead this extension to really lengthen the muscles at the back of the leg. We can hold it there for a moment. If you prefer to use a belt while you do this, that's just fine. Just capture the wide part of the foot in the belt. Extend that leg. If you'd like to, you can consider extending out the left leg, bringing the calf all the way to the mat. If that feels okay for you. If that causes much strain in the low back, then keep the knee bent. Now, whether you have the belt or not, let's grasp the right leg or the belt with our both hands. So if you're just grasping the leg, grasp somewhere comfortably on the leg. If you're grasping the belt, grasp one side of the belt in each hand. We're going to activate our mula bandhas, low belly moving in toward the spine, up toward the heart. Then we'll lift our forehead up toward this extended leg. We'll have a few breaths here. So if you're holding your breath, please continue to let it flow. Elbows go wide as opposed to in and down. And we'll lift our heart center. And then we'll release our head down. Oh, it sure does get heavy after a while. And then we can even release the belt, release this right leg down as well. Try that same thing on the other side. So it's the left leg extending. You can start with the right knee bent and right foot on the mat. Left heel extending. Again, no need to get it straight. If you'd like to use a belt, you may. If you don't wish to, that's fine. If the heel is leading the charge, the toes are lightly pulling back toward the nose. That's one reason why the belt is helpful. If you put it on the widest part of your foot, it tends to pull gently those or orient those toes a bit more toward the nose to lengthen the muscles through the back of the leg. If you'd like to extend the right leg, you may do so. We'll keep that right heel, calf, and thigh rooted to keep that right leg active. Now we'll activate our mula bandhas, so the belly button moving in toward the spine and up toward the heart. We'll lift our forehead, widen our elbows, whether we're grasping our own leg or the belt, and breathe. And we'll lower everything down. We can release the belt. We can release that leg down. Alrighty, now we'll try extending both of our legs up toward the ceiling. Again, using a belt if you'd like. We can hug our legs in for just a moment, maybe rock from side to side. And then we'll extend both heels up toward the ceiling. Again, if you'd like to use a belt, this is a fine time. This time the belt would go around both wide parts of the feet. No belt is fine as well. Now we'll activate our mula bandhas. We'll lift our forehead. We can either use the belt or use the legs, or even extend our arms past the legs, palms facing toward each other. Keep breathing. And then we'll lower our head gently back to the mat. We can release the belt if we're using one. We can release our legs. Place our legs down onto the ground. Keeping our left leg bent, let's extend our right heel up toward the ceiling. We can rest our arms at our sides. We're going to slowly lower that right leg until it's just hovering over the ground, but not quite touching it. We can point those toes away and then draw them up. Point them away, draw them up, point them away, and draw them up. Then we'll lift that leg up and do it again. Point, draw, point, draw, point, draw, and then lift it up. Then we'll lower that leg down. We'll try the same thing with the other side, extending that left heel skyward. We'll slowly lower it out and down, hovering it over the ground for a few breaths, pointing it out, drawing those toes back, pointing out, drawing back. And we'll lift it up. And then we'll do that again. A little bit more quickly this time. And lift. Now to make that even more challenging, you could do it with the opposite leg extended and calf to the mat. So if you're doing the right leg, the left leg would already be on the ground. You can do some leg lifts. That's a challenging work. Or you could even do a scissoring situation where you're trading positions. Keeping the breath flowing. Alrighty. We'll do a few lifts and lowers. And then lower everything down. I'm almost ready for Shavasana. We'll add just a couple of twists in. So once again, bending the knees, we'll let those knees sway down to the right side. Hopefully they'll find a nice landing pad. I'm going to open my arms out towards a T-shape arm to get them out of the way. If it's too far to go all the way to the ground, this is when a blanket or a towel will come in handy. You can even turn the gaze the opposite direction. So if the knees are going to the right, the gaze goes to the left. A few more breaths here. Then we'll firm our knees in toward each other. Lift those legs up to center. We can place our feet down, shift our hips over to the right an inch or two, then lift those legs again. Now lower them over to the left. Again, if you'd like a landing pad, you can put that blanket or towel there. Maybe turning the gaze off to the right in the opposite direction of the legs. We'll have another breath or two here. And again, the legs firm into center. They lift up. We can plant our feet, straighten out our hips again, and extend our limbs out comfortably at our sides, maybe even one by one, to find our shavasana, our stillness pose for the end of yoga practice. This is when the real rubber meets the road, when our work of bringing our body into these different poses, of hugging our organs inside with that twist we just did, of changing our cardiovascular system, stimulating our endocrine systems. All this work is noticeable, or the reaction to it is reflected on during our shavasana. So we bring stillness to our body so we can begin to explore the mind and begin to explore our reaction to these yoga poses. If you're not really sure what I mean by exploring the reaction, just pretend you're a court reporter and you've been assigned your body. So check out all your body systems. How do my feet feel? Maybe how do my legs feel? How's my various parts of the body? You can also check out the temperature, heart rate, your nervousness. Check out how your throat is doing. Soft and open. You can even scan around your brain for any places of tension in your skull. Just noticing, no correcting, no changing, no judging. Just notice like a good court reporter would do. Write it down, make note. Notice if your limbs feel soft and heavy. Notice if your back feels long and strong. Notice if the back of the tongue is wide and soft. Let your cheeks sag. Let your eyeballs rest and soften. Let your forehead skin relax. Let your breath come and go. Your in-breath bringing calm. Your out-breath letting you be at peace. Calm, peace. And for the next few minutes in Shavasana, just notice your body, notice your mind, notice your thoughts, no changing, no judging. Just notice like a keen observer, like a good friend. I will ring a bell to let you know when our Shavasana time is complete. Meanwhile, just follow your breath. Be a kind observer to yourself. Slowly bring your attention back to the room and bring small movements to your fingers and toes. When you're ready, roll to your right side and take some long breaths as you prepare to sit upward. Bring yourself to a comfortably seated upright position. Let's take a breath together before we continue on with our day. So we'll let the air out of our lungs. We'll take a nice full inhalation. We'll hold it for just a heartbeat and then exhale it completely and softly. Exhaling just a little bit more. And then for 2 heartbeats, we'll have a pause before we invite our next breath in fresh and full. And then continue with our regular breathing pattern. I slowly raise my gaze and I press my palms together over my heart and I bow to you all. Namaste. Thank you for practicing yoga with me today. If you like more, you can always check out our website, yogacollectiveak.com. So that's the Yoga Collective in Anchorage, Alaska.